So the course that I have, it says 6XX. We actually have a real course number now. It's a totally brand new course in the biology department. I, or anyone else in the department, has ever taught this course before, so it was kind of interesting doing this. And this course really is developed as a result of the grant that the college got to provide the high school teachers with additional graduate credit hours so that they can continue to teach the CAP courses that they teach through USI. So the actual particular topic, the course is plants and medicine. The reason why I chose that particular course is because it ties in really nicely some of the botany, because I'm a botanist, you've got to have some botany somewhere. And it also ties in the human biology aspect, which a lot of our high school teachers are teaching. So we can tie some of these different pieces together. And bless Larissa's heart, she put up with all of the different times that I came in and said, okay, we have to redo this totally because I've got this revelation. And she's helped me to put a bunch of stuff together. And the course is by no means finished yet. Hopefully we'll get that done by the end of May. But we have some significant pieces that have come together. So what we've got here, the course is actually divided up into 4 different units. As you can see here, and we've got some pieces that we're still putting together down over here. Originally, we had put, just going to the weekly thing here. So originally we had these different weeks here, and we had the different objectives for each week on here. But what we noticed is that it was basically the same thing. So where we've got this list of different classes of alkaloids, terpenoids, blah, 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 we were basically saying exactly the same thing, but changing the word alkaloid to terpenoid to phenolic. So Larissa suggested that maybe what we want to do is just take a look at the entire unit, put in Unit 1 learning objectives, and just summarize those together. I think it works well for Unit 1, but it may not work quite so well for some of these other units that come down over here. We do have 5 different objectives in the course, and one of the things that I'm really happy about as far as how this is coming together is the culminating piece for these students, which is this Phytochemical Monograph, which requires their skills in taking a look and seeing what chemical compounds, doing research in the primary literature of biology, tying in the pieces that how do these different chemicals actually have an effect on the human body. So let's see. I think we have to start here. So some of these things, again, aren't built up. That wasn't really what I wanted to go take a look at. We've got various discussions. Here's the Phytochemical Monograph and peer review. So the way that I've got this set up, so these are PDF files, basic description about what it is I'm going to be looking for. So a lot of verbiage, how I want them to format the whole thing, and tables and so on, things that we in science really want them to know and take a closer look at. Let's see. I want to.
Wow, this is a lot of work.
And it's a graduate course.
Yeah. Oh, I mean for you, like when you develop with all the materials.
Oh, some of this is borrowed. So I tailored some of these things to what I want them to do, but someone else actually, I found the idea from someone else. And so, yeah, it was a lot of work trying to do some of that. But some of these other pieces, I expect that each one of the students in this course is going to peer review one of the other students' monographs. And so I've got some very specific things that I would like them to look for, how they might comment on that, and be kind and make constructive comments. And then an actual grading rubric was developed for this course, or for this particular assignment. When I think of rubric, I think of not just having a number of points like you see here, so quality of grammar and written English, including spelling. Well, what does that mean, and what really earns a 10? When we get down to some of the specific sections, intro, production, isolation, and these things, so these have specific point values. but each of these, what I have to reconcile is how I'm really going to do that. And so is it just going to be 20 points and then I go and read it and say, okay, well, these are the pieces that are good, these are bad. It's like I said, when I think of a rubric for the discussions, we're developing a rubric where we've got exceeds expectations, meets them, and doesn't meet them. And doing that for each of these little different components makes a rubric that's unwieldy for me to work with, and I think very, very difficult for a student to actually resolve in their mind. And if we go back to, it's not the piece I want, if we go back to the original guidelines over here, for example, under introduction, there are a bunch of different pieces in all of this that actually have to be folded into these 20 points that I'm going to be looking for. Now, one of the things the students would be doing here is information about the particular species of plant that produces this chemical that they've chosen, and I have a master list of chemicals that they are going to choose from. So they'll be going through this course and looking at some specific chemicals throughout the course, so they won't be allowed to choose those, but I've got other ones up my sleeve that they would be able to take a look at. And so this phytochemical monograph, one of the pieces in this monograph are these botanical descriptions. And in this particular description, so we've got basically some instructions. If they're curious about, well, what do we mean by certain of these terms, we've got all of these links, and these are actually really cool. If you're a botanist, this actually puts a lot of things into perspective as far as some of what we're looking at. So this really shows them all sorts of different diagrams. In some cases, they've got photographs of some of these, so they can see what these particular plants would look like. Because ultimately, they're going to be doing research in the literature. They're going to be doing net searching for finding information that I would like them to find on these particular plants. But if we take a look at the actual assignment, so they've got these different categories: expect the scientific name, classification, and so on. So they're getting their botany. In some cases, this would be review for the particular students. And this ties into the piece that I want them to do in the introduction of that phytochemical monograph. Now, the phytochemical part comes in for a large part of the semester, and we don't have these pieces actually built in yet. But we know that the students are going to be in a given week. So if I go back in and I take a look at, oh, it's downloaded. I didn't want it to download. Well, anyway, so the course is divided up into these units, and so units 3 and 4 are much more geared specifically towards different human systems, body systems, and then within the text, there are a lot of descriptions about what a particular disease might be, what the etiologies of those diseases, and how plants are being used to treat some of these diseases. So they'll be getting some of the human physiology piece out of the reading from the textbook. And there's also online content available that is going to get pulled in here. But the most recent edition of the text is 2003. So if you do the math, we're 13 years out. And botanicals in treating human disorders, there's a lot of research that has happened in 13 years. So obviously the text that we're using is going to be sorely out of date on some of these topics. And so what the students will be doing throughout the semester is pulling out, there will be a discussion leader that will pull out a couple of scientific articles on a particular body system that we're covering in that week. They'll pull out this information, we'll get it distributed to the other students, so that we can then have a discussion about, okay, so what is it that we've learned about it? How is it that we can take a look at the human physiology? What is it that we know about producing some of these chemicals? Because in some cases, the only way that we can get these chemicals is to actually destroy the plant and pull it out of the plant. And a better way to do it for some of these plants would be to actually go and maybe make it in a laboratory. And so trying to figure out those different ways to do it. Honestly, I'm very, very hesitant about how discussion asynchronous is going to work in something like this, because an important piece for me in a graduate course like this would be the fact that we're discussing the primary literature and doing that. And Larissa has said, well, you know, as it works out well, yes, in graduate courses you do that. I'm really afraid about it, because that's such an important piece, and that piece is really tying in one of the most important, or one of the most interesting parts, probably on the parts of the students, and that's how is this chemical actually working in the human body? How do we know that it's supposed to? It's been definitely eye-opening. It hasn't changed what I think about online education. I seriously still believe that online courses just don't work very well for a 100 level student who's a fresh man or woman, and it just doesn't work. They're not disciplined enough to do this. It definitely has shed a lot more light for me in terms of developing a course like this. You know, I know that it takes a lot of work. This takes a hell of a lot of work if you're going to do it the right way. And I understand why some of the things happen kind of the distance and people, and why they want us to piece some of these things together, because if you don't have some of these things in place, the course is just not going to work out very well at all. So anyway, that's where I am with it.
That's really good. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Like for us, I don't think we're really pushing anyone to teach online, but we just help you see new things. And also, I'm teaching a 100 level online course right now, and it's going really well. I know it's a lot of the students, they're like freshmen or sophomore, and this is their first online courses. Of course, whenever you design a course and the content, you have to keep your student level in mind, right? Probably, even for online, there's a lot of hand-holding. And then, as I mentioned before, I use a remind tool to help them with their time management. Just keep sending reminders. Maybe I usually do 3 times a week. And one at the very beginning, and then one in the middle of the week, and then one the day before the deadline. And then what's nice about this one is the tool is they can actually text me back without revealing their phone number. Of course, it's very secure. And then I'm very, personally, I'm very satisfied by their learning outcomes. And then second, the level of engagement in the course. Because I also did end of semester course survey. I know our university, we have universal evaluation form for all the online and in-person course. But I always do that, for your own course, make your own form, because there are specific questions you want to get student feedback about the course, right? So that's a good way to ask for student feedback, and then getting new feedback to incorporate them for the next round of iteration. And then I define myself as a successful online instructor when I hear my student, they think I'm a very responsive and reliable instructor. And then I always, willing to help them out. So I think there is a way you can do it. You can make it happen. It just takes a process.
It always does take a process.
Yeah.
I share your concerns.
I know it's challenging, especially your first time. You put the course online, all the pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then giving the
It is.
Yeah.
And but this has opened my eye too. I mean, I talk about, you know, this probably isn't good for freshmen, but I'm taking a look at a non-majors course that I currently teach, and I'm thinking, oh, this might work this way. This might be able to work this way, and developing a lot of these things from scratch, since I've not taught the course before, is kind of tough. And I know that's tough to transition from teaching it traditional to putting it online. But I've got like tons of activities that I do with these students that I can see where, all right, if I did this way, I could then have a course where I'm developing it. So I'm already thinking about, you know, the future. Okay, what other course might I put online? And let's just say that my partner said, well, what are you doing? I thought you were so against online courses. I said, well, I never said that I was against it. I said that online courses are for a very particular type of student. I mean, that's what it is. And he said, well, you know, that's a really big turnaround here, you know, as you're doing this. And I think it's a turnaround that I'm thinking about doing this for this non-majors course. But I think there's an audience where it could work for those students, especially since some of what I'm doing now, I'm starting to record things on Nocto and it helps to reinforce them. So for a particular audience of students, I can see it could work. So I've not come totally around, but it's allowed me to see a little bit more.
You're thawing. Going to it.
Thawing.
Yeah, that's what I call it in the chem department.
I like
They're
that.
thawing a little bit.
There's a little bit of thawing, but you know, part of it is that I've never been trained in a course like this. I've never taken a course like this, and it is kind of scary, particularly when I like the interaction. I like seeing the students there in class, and I know that students also like to interact with each other and trying to figure out. I love your puzzle idea. I love the different things that you were taking with that, Jill, because, you know, of course, like that, how do you, someone was saying yesterday at a gathering I was at, they were talking about the fuzzy. The fuzzy is a thing that you have to overcome in a course like this, and it's like, yeah, you're right. That's, how do you do that? And that's been a tough piece for me to try to figure out. But I think Larissa and I have made some progress with it. Now these other pieces are starting to come together a whole lot better than these things.
That's nice. You know, the first step always, you know, more difficult. But the point is, you know, we made the first step. That's something that matters to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then also, like, something I just want to, you know, personally share with you. Even if, you know, when you teach the course first time online, like, you know, don't afraid of trying new things. Just because I feel like, you know, just by trying new things, keep trying, keep exploring, that can help us make the course like better and then improve it, like continuously improve it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's what you do with the regular course. What I worry about is, okay, so the first time we do this and the first thing we do, it just kind of collapses, and unlike a traditional course where I can handle it and I can go in and recover from that, what I worry about is, okay, this is online, how am I going to recover from something that turns out to be disastrous? Because once we get this going this way in this format and we've got the students enrolled, there is no turning back to go into a regular format. I can't turn around and say, okay, well, this isn't working the way that I thought it would work, so we're just going to go and, you know, meet on these particular days of the week. That's not the way that it works. So it's got to be workable in some way, and it's those little pieces that it's like, okay, well, how will this happen? And I know that distance ed will be very, very helpful. You guys have been really helpful throughout for me, but and so I know that if there are problems, I will get help. But it's still kind of scary.
Well, I think the QM review also could help because, you know, you get other, like, new perspective from other people. You know, they can help you see the small things you might miss in the class.
Right,
So,
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's true.
that's gonna be helpful for you. All right,
Well, thank you.
thank you.